Hello everyone, welcome back to Salesforce Predator. In this channel we discuss about various concepts and technologies in Salesforce. In this video we are going to discuss about integration of Salesforce with OpenAI. Agenda for this video would be, we'll be discussing what is OpenAI and its timeline. We'll see some of the capabilities of OpenAI which we can utilize. We'll also see some of the publicly available APIs present in OpenAI platform. We'll see how we can integrate Salesforce with OpenAI. We'll also take a problem statement as a use case and we'll try to solve that using integration of Salesforce and OpenAI. At the end, we'll see some of the limitations of OpenAI as well. So let's start. OpenAI as an organization was formed in December 2015 by a group of tech titans including Sam Altman or Elon Musk. Sam Altman is currently CEO of OpenAI, and the goal of OpenAI organization was to do advancement in field of artificial intelligence for betterment of human society. So initially OpenAI was non-profit organization, right? Then in 2016 OpenAI Gym platform was released. So it was based on reinforcement learning research laboratory. And then in 2018 OpenAI introduced the concept of GPT, that is Generative Pre Trained Transformer. Generative because it was capable of generating responses on its own, pre-trained because it was trained on millions of sentences or data from internet, and transformer because the underlying neural network was using transformer model, right? In the same year 2018, Elon Musk offered to take over OpenAI because he thought like OpenAI was lagging behind its competitor Google or others. However, board members rejected his proposal. So this led to departure of Elon Musk from OpenAI organization. Further, it's believed that Elon Musk stopped the funding of OpenAI as well, right? So in 2019, OpenAI shifted its status from non-profit organization to capped profit organization. So the profit was capped till 100 times the investment or funding it receives, right? Then in 2021, OpenAI released its first DALL-E generative AI model. Now this model was capable of generating images based on the text description it receives, right? Again in 2022, OpenAI released DALL-E 2, which was advanced version of DALL-E, and then later in the same year, it released ChatGPT. Within release of ChatGPT, it became quite popular. So within like 2 days of release, millions of users subscribed to ChatGPT platform. In 2023, Microsoft committed to multi-billion-dollar investment in OpenAI, and also GPT-4 model was released. Now, if we compare different versions of GPT model, GPT-1 model had 1 billion parameter count, GPT-2 model had around 1.5 billion parameter count, GPT-3 had around 175 billion, and GPT-4 would be having around 100 trillion parameters. So these parameters are nothing but variables which these GPT model learned during its training phase, right? So next time, like when we are sending a request, these models would be using this variable to generate a response. Okay. Now, one important point to note here is, so GPT, it's a model, right? And ChatGPT is a, we can say a assistant or a software, you can say, or a platform which was developed based on the GPT model. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to make clear, right? Now GPT-3 can take up to 4096 token in single API call as a request. So 4096 token roughly translates to 3000 words. Okay, so in a single API call as a request body or a request text, it can take up to 3000 words. Okay, so that was the limitation for GPT-3 model. Now we'll see some of the capabilities of OpenAIs. With OpenAI, you can do natural language processing. That means you can send text in your natural language and you'll be getting a response after processing of that text in a natural language only, right? So best example for this would be ChatGPT, right? So it's an AI assistant tool which is capable of processing the natural language text and sending the response as well. Next, you can do language translation as well. So you can send a text in particular language and expect a response in different language. For example, applications like Duolingo has already partnered with OpenAI to use the language translation feature. You can also do text completion. You can send an incomplete text as a prompt to OpenAI APIs and you can get the completed text or sentence out of it. You can do question answering stuff. So you can ask any question and based on its database, it will respond with particular answer, right? You can also do sentiment analysis using some of the APIs present in OpenAI. So you can send a particular text and it will respond with the sentiment present inside that, right? This would be useful in case of social media monitoring. So let's say in case of monitoring the Twitter tweets or social media posts, you can use this feature. You can also do code generation using OpenAI. So you can ask or send a message to OpenAI to write Apex classes or SOQL query or triggers for you, right? Another important thing is OpenAI has kept some of its APIs publicly available for developers access. So developers can go on to use those APIs and cater their use cases. We are going to see some of the APIs, okay? So some of the APIs we have listed down here. So these are some of the publicly available APIs present in OpenAI platform. We'll have models API. This models API is used to get list of models present in OpenAI platform. You can also have completion API. So this completion API is to complete particular incomplete text or a sentence sent to it. We have chat completion APIs, we have images API, we have moderation APIs, right? So all these we are going to look into directly like in OpenAI platform only, okay? So how do you access these APIs? So for that, you need to create an account on OpenAI platform, right? And once you create an account on OpenAI platform, you can go on to generate an API key, and using that API key in your code, you can get access to this platform's APIs, right? So I'll just show you how you can do it. I'll just copy this and paste it onto the browser. So here you can add your email address and continue, or you can log in with your Google account or a Microsoft account or Apple account, right? Once you log in into the system, you will be redirected to the overview page, right? Now to generate API key, you can go on to your profile, click on view API keys. You will see a create new secret key button here. Once you click on that, you can add optional name parameter and click on create secret key. This will generate you an API key and you can use these API keys further for your integration purpose. One important point to note here is you need to copy this API key and store it in a secured place now only. Because after you click on done, right, and you come back to this page, you will not be able to see this API key again. And that's what is written over here, right? So just copy it and store it in a secure place, let's say in custom label or custom settings, somewhere where you can use in your Salesforce org, right? You can see list of APIs key generated over here, right? So these are some of the API key which we have generated in like my instance. Next, if we want to go through some of the APIs present in OpenAI platform, you can go to API reference. There you can go to the models section, right? There you'll find some of the requests present here. We have a get request for models API. Now this will give you list of all models with different parameters. You do have some completion APIs, normal completion APIs or chat completion APIs, right? Then you can go on to look into some moderation APIs or images APIs. So everything is there. Every detail is present over here, right? Let's say if you want to explore some of these APIs, so how you can do it? You can just go on to the Postman application and there in a global search, search for OpenAI. You'll get a publicly available collection present here already created by OpenAI. You can either use this collection, but if you want to make some changes, then you can just fork or clone this collection to create your local collection. I have already created local collection for OpenAI, right? So if you look into this part, you can see this local collection created by me. If I expand this, I'll get list of all the APIs present in OpenAI, and you'll be having some dummy request or response data present inside that, right? Now to access your instance of OpenAI platform, what you need to do is go on to the get request, let's say, and here you just add authorization parameter. I have already added authorization parameter. I've added bearer space, the API key which I have generated in previous steps, right? Now let's say if I click on send button, now this is a models API, so this will give me list of APIs or models present in OpenAI. So if I search for, let's say, Da Vinci, right? So I'll get Da Vinci model. I will get GPT model also, right? If I search for, let's say, GPT, right? So you can see GPT 3.5 turbo model. So all these details you can get using models API. Next, let's say we'll explore chat completion API. So now previous one was a get request. This one is a post request. So it will be having a body as well, right? Now for completion API, what you need to do is you need to send particular sentence or a question and you need to specify the role here. Okay. So since end user is sending this request, the role is user and then content is nothing but the message you are sending or a request text you are sending to OpenAI platform. One more thing is there, you need to specify the model parameter here. So which model exactly you're going to use. Either you're using GPT-3, GPT 3.5 or GPT 3.5 Turbo, right? So that details you need to specify here. For now, what I'll do is for simplicity purpose, I'll just remove all these messages and keep only one message, right? And I'll just add a question like who won cricket World Cup in 2011. Okay. Now let's say we send this request. Just see the format of this request and format of response as well. Now in the response, you see we are getting the model, we are getting the request or response ID, we are getting the choices array as well. Now these choices array will be containing your response. Inside that you will be having multiple messages or a response to the messages. And there if you see closely, you will see role is assistant. That's because this is a response given by OpenAI platform, right? And then you can see a usage parameters here, like what all prompts you have used or how many tokens you have already utilized, right? Next, you can go on to look for images API, right? So if I expand this, I have already added authorization parameter here. Now, if you look into the request body, you will see a prompt and you will see a size as well. So prompt is like basically a request or the description of image you want, and size is nothing but the resolution of image you would be wanting. So I have kept low resolution because that would be easier to load into the browser, right? Once I click on send, I'll be getting some URL in a response. Now this URL, I can copy it and paste it onto the browser, right? So once I do that, I'll be getting the image which I wanted. So let's go to the browser and paste that public URL here. You see these images, right? So this is an image of cat sitting under tree, right? Although the tree is not visible completely, but that's what is returned by OpenAI API, right? If you go on to check for some other APIs, let's say moderation API. So in moderation API, you need to send a request body and that would be having input parameter and you can send a particular text, right? So let's click on send. Let's see what response we are getting. So the format of response looks like this. This is the model which we are using, text moderation one. And then in result, you'd be getting two sets of parameter. First would be categories and second would be category scores. Categories are nothing but the sentiments present or sentiments for which this text has been analyzed. So if you see, we have sexual, hate, violence, self-harm, right? All these sentiments are there. And if you can see all other values are false, but the violence value is true. That means this request or the text which we send to this moderation API is having violence sentiment inside it, right? You can easily analyze that. One more thing is there, if you see the category scores over here, right? So these category scores determine the correctness of response being received from OpenAI. Okay, so if you look into the violence part, you can see this is basically a probability value, right? So it would be having a range in between 0 to 1. So for violence, you have a range of 0.88, right? Like it would be close to 0.9. For all others, you'd see it's very low values, because you can see it's raised to 7, right? Or it's raised to -7 or something, right? So this would come out to be a very low value. And hate one is having 0.18 value. So some kind of hate sentiment might be present, but that's like low probability of having it, right? So that's what these parameters mean here. So these are some of the APIs which we have explored in Postman. For our use case, we would be using chat completion API only. So that's why I wanted you to understand the request and response format there. Let's go back to our presentation. Let's see what next we have. So this we have already seen. We have already explored APIs using Postman tools. Right. So next is a problem statement which we will be taking in our session, and we'll see how we can cater this. So John is a salesperson working in XYZ company. Now, as a salesperson, John might be working on multiple lead records at a time. So John logs into Salesforce org, and let's say he goes to particular lead record. He might be seeing different fields present on lead record, multiple related list presents on a lead record, right? So he has to go through all these data to get the grasp of lead record, right? So this would waste a lot of time if he has to do this kind of stuff for all the lead records present or assigned to him. There's one more scenario or a requirement specific to our use case, like in our org, if we want to convert a particular lead record, then the corresponding case of specific record type has to be closed. If that case is not closed, then you cannot convert lead into opportunity. So that's what is a business requirement for us, right? Now let's say salesperson is working on multiple lead records or multiple case records. So which case record should salesperson pick first, so that he'll close that case record and then corresponding lead record can be converted, right? So this again is a issue of case prioritization, and we'll see how we have handled it using integration of OpenAI and Salesforce. Okay. Before that, there are some prerequisites you need to take care of. That's you need to create an OpenAI account, which we have already done. You need to create or generate an API key. We have already done with this step. Then you need to add the endpoint URL to remote site settings. So you can do that. I have already done that. I have added the endpoint URL to remote site settings so that we can access this OpenAI APIs, right? And this API keys, I have stored it in a custom label for now. Okay. So let's go to our Salesforce org and let's see how we have catered the use case. Now these are 3 lead records which I'm considering for now. We have David, we have Kathy, and we have Betty. Okay. So these 3 lead records we would be considering in our scenario. Now, if you look into the right hand side, there is a Lightning Web component present over here. What we have done is we have integrated with OpenAI, and we are using chat completion APIs of OpenAI, and we are sending the lead records detail to OpenAI. Now, not only lead records, also the related records to the lead, for example, task records, right? So all these details we are sending to OpenAI. Now, which all fields we are sending or which all related object we are considering, that I have done, or I have stored it in a custom metadata. I'll be showing it to you when I walk you through the code. Okay. Now in response, what we are getting lead score, and we are getting summarization of this lead record. So it's mentioned over here like David Monaco is the CEO of this company, and this company is having 130 locations in Japan. He has interested product in GC500 series product. He was obtained through the purchase list, has not opted out of email communication, and lead score is high due to his seniority in company and interest in the product, right? Now, what this lead score indicate? This lead score is a value out of 100, and it indicates the probability or chances of this lead being qualified or being converted into opportunity. So the higher the value is, the higher are chances that this lead will be converted into opportunity, right? So with this, what we are achieving, we are getting summary of lead record. So next time a salesperson comes into this lead record page, he does not have to go through all the fields present on lead record. He can just read the summary and grasp the details about lead record. And also this lead score will be using to prioritize the case record. Okay. So what So before that, I'll just walk you through other lead records. We have some other lead records having lead score of 75, and we have some summary for that. Then we have another lead record having lead score of 70, and we have a little summary for that as well. Now what I have done is I have created case record for this lead record. So you can see this is one of the case. Then this lead is also having a case record, and this lead is also having a case record. Okay. Now let's say what happens is our salesperson has a connect with this lead. So he calls this lead and they have a discussion about the product they wanted to, do the business with. And based on the discussion, salesperson logs the call detail on the task object, right? So let's do that. Let's refresh this page. One more thing I forgot to tell you is this call to the API occurs on the load of this page. Now you guys can make changes and create a button. On click of that button, you'll be making call to open APIs, right? But I have done on the load of this page. So once I load this lead record, right, you can see this is still spinning. That means we are making call to the OpenAI, and whatever response we are getting, we are just formatting it and displaying it on the UI in this Lightning component. Now let's say I go on to log a call details, right? What happens is this customer says, or this lead says, competitors are selling better quality product at lower prices. So this lead is not interested in buying our product now. Okay, so that's what is discussion took place between salesperson and the lead. Once he saved the log details, he can go on to refresh this lead record. Now you see the lead score, it has dramatically dropped down from 85 to 30. Why? Because this salesperson had connect with this lead and he locked down the discussion between them, and it was having little negative sentiment, right? The lead was saying that he's getting better product or better quality product at cheaper prices from different competitors, right? That's why the conversion of these leads now, like the chances or the conversion chances of this lead has dramatically dropped down from 85 to 30, right? And in the summary also you can see we have this last part where it is mentioned that however in recent call he has shared that competitors are selling better quality product at lower prices, indicating that he is not interested in buying our product now, right? So all these details you can do here only. The salesperson do not have to go on to the lead record, see different fields, see the task records, see the activity records. All the summary you can paste it here in a summarized manner onto this Lightning Web component, right? And you are also getting this lead score. Now I'll tell you what is use of this lead score. In the problem statement, we had two issues. We had a summarization issue and we had case prioritization issue. Now there are multiple cases present here, right? We have one case associated to this lead record and other cases associated to different lead records. Now if you open one of the case record, right, you will see initially the owner of this case record is a queue. That's a generic case queue I have created, and this is the record type. So this is the like cases of this record type only we are considering, right? So this has to be closed, otherwise this lead corresponding lead record might not get converted, right? So just look into the lead score of different leads. So this is having 70 lead score, another one is having 75, and this one is now having 30 lead score. What I have done is I have created a next case button on the home page of this application, right? So when salesperson comes to the Salesforce org, he's landed onto the home page button, home page, he'll be seeing this next case button. And what he can do is he can go on to click on next case. And the logic behind this is the case having highest lead score or the case associated to lead having highest lead score will be assigned to this salesperson first. That means that the salesperson will be working on the case record or the lead record which is having highest chances or highest probability of conversion. And that's what we want, right? Why should waste time on the lead which is not going to get converted? Instead, we'll be working on leads which are having higher chances of conversion, right? So let's click on this and let's see what happens. You see the owner of this case got changed to that particular salesperson who clicked on the next case button, right? And you see this 049, that's the case number or the case which is assigned to this salesperson. Let's see what was the lead score, right? So if I look into this one, so this is not 0, it is 050, right? We have to look into 049. So this one it is, and it's having lead score of 75. If I look into the other case 048, it is associated to this lead and having lead score of 70. That means the case having highest lead score is being assigned to the salesperson, and that's what we wanted, and that's how we have solved our use case or the problem statement. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Now, before going further, what I can do is I can just show you what exactly we have done, right, from the code's perspective. So I'll just go to the Apex class, and I have one Apex class with me. That is get record summary. Okay, so what I am doing is on load of the lead record, right? I am just calling this method fetch OpenAI response method from my LWC component. I'm just passing the record ID. Now this component is generic, so you can either use it on a case record, you can use it on a account record or opportunity record, wherever you want to generate the summary of that particular record. Okay, so I have used it for lead. Now I'm just passing the record ID, and based on that I'm getting the object name. Then I have stored my SOQL query or the fields which I want to send to OpenAI in this custom metadata record. Okay, so let's go on to look into that custom metadata record first. I'll go here, I'll go to the setup, and we can search for custom metadata. There you can see for this OpenAI records, that's the custom metadata which I have utilized. It's taking some time to load the screen. Right, so I have one record right now only for lead object. If you look into the fields, here we have object name, like the object which we are like showing the summary for. So we have lead object for now. I have specified the SOQL. In SOQL, I have all the fields which I want to send to OpenAI. And then I have a related list as well. There I've specified the task record, right? I have specified that in the inner SOQL. And then what all child relationship to be considered. So for now, I'm just considering the task record. Okay. This would be comma separated value. So if you have multiple child records to be considered, you can add the SOQL for that also, right? So all these things can be handled using the custom metadata. Now, if I go back to our Apex class, there you can see we are just getting the fields of parent record, that is lead record. We are getting field of child records, and we are preparing a list. Once we do that, what we can do is we have a prompt here. Now, this is very important thing to understand. What we are doing is we are specifying here that please provide a lead score as lead score X out of 100. So that would be the format we are expecting. And then summary for lead record in next line for the added details. And details would be this list of all fields like label and value, right? And once we do that, we are sending this request to class that is OpenAI service. In that, I'm just preparing the HTTP request and sending it to OpenAI platform. If you look into the parameters here, I'm specifying the timeout, I'm specifying the role as user, I'm specifying the content here, right? I'm specifying the model as GPT 3.5 Turbo. Once I do that, I'm getting some response, and I'm traversing to the choices. I'm getting the content and sending back to the LWC, where I'm formatting and displaying it on the UI. If you want to look into the next call button, so that's very easy. You just have a lightning button, and inside that, I'm making call to the Apex method, which is querying on like doing a SOQL and getting the case record which is associated to lead having highest lead score. Once we do that, I'm getting the case ID here, and I'm redirecting the user to that particular case record using this navigation, right? So that's how we have catered our use case. Next, we'll go to our presentation and we'll see some of the limitations of OpenAI. First would be dependency on training data. Obviously, like this model is trained on the data available from internet or research papers and all those things, right? So the response it generates is based on the database or the training it had undergone. Then it is having a resource requirement and cost, so it does take a lot of resources to generate the response, right? Then it's having limited knowledge till 2021. That's one of the thing which we are already facing in ChatGPT application. Next, it is having limited support for domain specific knowledge. So that would be a thing. For example, if you are considering finance domain, right? So in that case, we have a lot of things. Let's say generating civil scores, deduplications, address verification, all the stuff are there. So that kind of knowledge might not be there for OpenAI. It might not have been trained under that knowledge, right? We do have some regulatory and compliance consideration. So let's say I got a question once, like when I was explaining this OpenAI thing, right? So what about security? What this OpenAI does to our request, right? So as per the documentation, what happens, right? Whenever you are using OpenAI, let's say you're making an API call, so you have already created an instance of OpenAI for you, right? So that API call would be going to that particular instance only. And whenever you're using these APIs, right? So these requests might be stored onto the OpenAI platform for 30 days. Okay. And next thing is these details or data which you are sending as a part of API request, those are not used for training purpose. So those are specific to your instance only. So somebody else is having different instance of OpenAI, so they cannot access your data. Okay. So that is one thing for security. And there is one option also there for opting in and opting out. So basically by default it is opt out only. So when you're sending API request, your data is not going to be used for the training purpose. But if you opted in specifically, then they might use your data for training purpose. Now, these things are not applied on ChatGPT actually. So these are only applicable for OpenAI APIs only as per the documentation. So in case of ChatGPT, it might be using your data for training purpose. So you need to be careful there. So there may be a possibility of data leakage which can take place if you're using ChatGPT. Okay. I guess that's it. We have this much only for this session. I'm going to create some more videos on OpenAI, like how GPT models were developed from GPT version 1 to 2 to 3, right? All these details I'm going to cover in some of our videos. But for now, that's it. Yeah. If you have any questions, just write it down in the comment section. I would be happy to address it. Thank you.